If you are a diehard listener of GKW, you know that when we had Evan Cohen on, who was pretty much the creator of this podcast, he gave us a goal, and that's to have the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, on the pod this year. And sure enough, here he is, Mr. WrestleMania himself, Shawn Michaels. Shawn, thank you so much for the time, man. Thanks for jumping on.
You bet. I appreciate y'all having me. I'm proud to know that I was a goal in someone's life. That's it.
We did not tell that person this interview was scheduled just in case it didn't happen. We were waiting until it's actually happening, and here we are.
Well, of course, so you were here because NXT starting on the CW. Everybody's excited about it. Tuesday, October 1st, they're going to be down in Hoodie's neck of the woods in Chicago. Right after that, going to be going to St. Louis. Tickets are on sale now for NXT as they hit the road to be part of the new lineup over on the CW. So with NXT, I want to start there. What has been one of the challenges that you did not anticipate when you first took the job as the head of NXT?
Being the head of NXT, getting the job. Okay. To be perfectly honest, Hunter went down, boom, and I got put in the position. So that was obviously the most unexpected part of it, obviously. But again, I'll say this: one of the things that it's a kind of a weird balance that you have. One of the great things you love about this job is that we're kind of always ready for the fire drill. I mean, a lot of things can happen. There can be flight delays. This happens, that happens, and then we've got to, no different than when there was the delays and the NXT crew had to jump on a plane and fly and fill in and do SmackDown. Those were always kind of very nervous but exciting, and especially when you deliver on them. So that was the most challenging part, is just kind of getting thrust into this position that I, sort of was I did it on the sides, on the periphery, but I was never, entrenched in it. So that was obviously the hardest part. And then adjusting to the entirely new show. It wasn't just a job, but a different concept, all new talent, all new and young and beginning talent. So I think a lot of times we see where we're at now in NXT and things are fantastic and running smoothly. But there's a great deal of pride by the young men and women that on those first couple of shows, with as they call it, it's dubbed 2.0. It was very trying at the beginning, but they were all so fantastic. They were young, green, had no idea what to expect, but everybody came together. And again, I think we all look back on that experience with a great deal of pride, because we managed to weather the storm, and now we've come out on the other side, walking into this fantastic 5-year relationship with the CW and a network that is behind us 100%. And of course, just the possibilities are endless, and then getting to go on the road, the debut, happening in Chicago, then the next week in St. Louis, Punk and Randy being a part of it, just a really big and exciting time for NXT.
Shawn, the great thing about NXT is the mixture of young wrestlers that you're developing and the veterans that come in as well. Like a guy like Ethan Page. How do you assess the value of Ethan Page to NXT?
Well, look, I will say this. As soon as I found out that he was available, it was something that I started looking into immediately. Again, because you're talking about a great deal of experience, seasoned, comfortable, somebody that knows what they're doing out there. But also at the same time, everything that I sort of, and again, didn't know everything about him, but you sort of look at him and you say, like, I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. And I don't know how many times, look, you can hear different stories, this, that, and the other. You never know what's true, but you just see potential and you think to yourself, has he ever been given the opportunity? Let's just find out if he has. And again, look, if he falls short, you fall short, and then you kind of get dropped, to the bottom of the cart. But he's a guy, again, that we sort of, took a chance on. He took a chance with us, and right now I think you see that it's been pretty successful. But he's a guy that certainly brought experience to the table that we don't have a lot of here at NXT. But also a guy who's so excited and passionate about now somebody believing in him. And so when you put those two together, It's a great combination because he's a guy that feels like he's got a place that appreciates him and is investing in him. And then we've also, got the experience level that we need here in NXT.
What are those discussions like between yourself and Hunter when there is a free agent and you say, hey, I see a spot for him in NXT, and Hunter's like, oh, we need him on Raw? What are those discussions like?
Well, look, the ultimate goal for NXT is to lose talent, to lose it to the main roster, for them to move up. So as weird as it sounds, that's our job. And that's just a mentality that you have to have in this. There's going to be a constant kind of cycle with us. You're going to be ebbs and flows. And that's why I always, again, and it sounds like you're trying to blow it off, but that's why we can't get caught up in like the ratings and stuff like that. When everything is said and done, NXT is in the green. NXT, WWE, Raw, SmackDown, right now, we are trending upwards, which nobody in linear television is doing. So that makes us an extremely hot commodity. So that's already baked in my opinion. But we're going to go through ebbs and flows and cycles because our job is to create and manufacture talent for the main roster. And as you get these people and they get over, they get notoriety, they start to build a fan base, it starts to, equal ratings from our standpoint. Well, then we lose them, and then we've got to introduce a bunch of people again, and that that viewership is naturally going to go down because they've been attached to these other characters. So again, it's an interesting process that you kind of have to get used to because it's not the natural. Everything else is to sustain, continue to build on the talent. Again, time and maturity are all good things in our line of work. You know what I mean? The longer you're on television, the more the fans bond to you. In our job here in NXT, it's kind of different because the minute they bond to you, boom, you can be jettisoned off to Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah. What are the challenges for the ones that do get jettisoned off to Raw and SmackDown? Because now they're over at NXT, but now they have to get over all over again up on Raw or SmackDown. What are some of those challenges some of those superstars have to go through?
Yeah, look, it's sink or swim. And I'll say this, it's a great dose of reality for them. And I think it's NXT. And again, I liken it to not a bad thing, but I liken it to raising our children. We used to have a saying, Gym Not. Gym Not is like you have to keep doing it over and over. You have to tell them over and over for certain things to become a habit, to become natural to them. And then as they begin to feel like they've got a hold of it and they're popular here in NXT, you go up there and you get into that big pond and you realize what a real big fish looks like. And you hear, the difference between when you go out and somebody like a Roman Reigns goes out, the difference when you go out and somebody like a Cody Rhodes goes out. And again, it's a good, humbling process for them because once again, that hunger, that desire, that passion gets reinstilled in that individual, and now they have another goal to shoot for. So the one thing that's also fantastic is that we have a bunch of athletes down here that are goal-oriented. So they're very coachable. That humility that they do have when they move to the main roster is something that's positive because that just drives them more to have that success.
Shawn, you had previous stops before you came to WWE working with Vince because you worked with guys like Bob Geigel and Vern Gagne and Bill Watts and Joe Blanchard. So how much of your style of leadership and booking came from previous stops in your career?
Well, I will say this. I was fortunate to be around a lot of fantastic, not just promoters, but also, again, I look back at the DiBiase's, the Rock and Roll Express, Macho Man Randy Savage, Tully and Arn, some of the great people that I was, so fortunate to not just be in the ring with, but be in a locker room with Jake Roberts, guys that just had so many different ways of looking at the business and different psychology. So look, I think all of those kind of, form the person that you become. But ultimately, you have to, again, go with your instincts. And I always try to, what Hunter and I both do, we talk about it all the time, the fan in us, what it is that we want to see. And that's the thing that I think I'm most proud of is that I've never stopped being a wrestling fan. I feel like, again, I'm 59 years old, but I've got the mind of a 12-year-old still, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes, that's a huge advantage for me from a wrestling fan standpoint because I still want it to be fun. I like it to be enjoyable. I recognize that they're very, you've got different camps. And again, well, this doesn't needs to be real. I don't know. I just never understood that there was a real version of what it is we do. I'll be damned if I've ever seen it. But it's sports entertainment, and there's something for everybody. And I think that's what I enjoy a lot about NXT is that's something that we're beginning to tap into now as well. It's not just kind of one genre. It doesn't have one niche. It's got a lot of things for everybody because again, that's what we're trying to create for the main roster and for future stars on Raw and SmackDown. If you can have another Cody Rhodes, great. If you can have another Drew McIntyre, fantastic. A New Day, the Street Profits. There's a number of different aspects to this job that you've got to try to get your fingers into. And that's something that I feel like in NXT, we're having that variety now that I think maybe wasn't there in the past.
You mentioned October 1st in Chicago. CM Punk will be on that show. We see on social media he's around your roster a bunch. What does CM Punk mean to NXT as sort of a player coach right now?
Well, look, the fact that he supports us is huge. And I think the great thing is he's, like a lot of us do, he's come to a point in his career where he recognizes, just how great this job has been and how great this industry has been to him. And you begin then to learn that you'd like to pass that on. And so, look, when he comes down, he's always very supportive. He's helpful. What I appreciate most about him is that he always checked with our coaches, checks with me. Again, making sure that we're all on a unified front and pushing the same agenda or same direction. And I think that's something you can never beat a guy that is right now in this moment, a living, breathing, global superstar like CM Punk coming back and interacting with your young talent because he's everything they want to be. So that's always going to be a positive because they see me every day. I am so not special around here. It doesn't even matter. And again, so it's very, beneficial for us when a CM Punk or a Cody Rhodes or a Drew McIntyre or a Seth Rollins comes down here and visits us because now they can talk to the guys that are firsthand doing it and letting them know what it is they need to experience the same kind of success.
During your career, you were known as the best in-ring performer. Who do you think has that mantle today?
Look, I will say I think Seth is a fantastic performer. And that right now, that's me just, off the top of my head picking one. But I think he's a guy that just has unbelievable talent. AJ Styles is still a guy that I think is fantastic as well. So I don't know. Again, the more I would sit here and think about it, there are probably, other guys I would come up with. But I will say right now, for me, for my kind of style and what I enjoy out of matches, I think AJ and Seth are rocking pretty good right now, if you ask me.
All right, Shawn, fact or fiction, NXT fans, the NXT universe are the best fans in WWE.
Well, it's fact for us down here in NXT for sure.
They are hot for everything, Shawn. They are hot for everything. It's like it could be anybody coming to the ring and people are popped for it. That's got to make you feel good that no matter what, people are into the product.
It really does. And look, again, I go back to because I think they understand the place where it's coming from. It really is. It's about excitement. It's about passion. It really is entertainment and having fun. That is what we want. We are not, this is the WWE. This is NXT. You may not like the catchphrase of putting smiles on faces, but that is what we want to do. We are not, I am certainly not trying to, solve the world's problems by any stretch of NXT with our storylines. We're just trying to create for you an entertainment, episodic, exciting, wrestling television show. And I think that's what we're doing. So our fans here in Orlando are just the absolute best. And I do know for a fact when we get out there to Chicago and St. Louis on the 8th, they're going to be rabid. And it's going to be a blast for our talent to be able to go out there and perform in front of, again, seriously, when you talk about Chicago and St. Louis, you're talking about two unbelievable historic wrestling towns. And for our talent, it's going to be like a dream come true to come out and be able to perform for those people.
Which end of the spectrum is more absurd? You running things or Triple H running things if you look back 20 years ago?
Easily me. He's least everybody felt like he was responsible. Me running anything is just absolutely crazy. I couldn't say that for job security by any stretch, but I just would have never. I can remember swearing that I'd never wear sleeves, I'd never wear long pants, I'd never wear a headset, and darn near all that stuff is attached to me now all the time. So I just wouldn't believe in a million years I'd be sitting in this position.
Well, Shawn, congratulations on all the success so far. We're looking forward to it again. NXT heading to Chicago to kick off being on the CW on October 1st. Tickets are on sale now, so go check out NXT in Chicago or in St. Louis the week after on October 8th. Again, tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster. Thanks so much, HBK.
You bet, guys. Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for helping us out with all this. We appreciate it.